To test a man's innocence in ancient times, the court would place fresh peepal leaves onto his bare, outstretched hands, bind them tightly with raw cotton thread, and carefully lower a glowing red-hot iron directly onto the leaves. The ritual operated on a specific belief. While human flesh naturally burns, these physical laws would suspend themselves if the accused spoke the absolute, unvarnished truth. A man stands before the king, facing this exact punishment. He is the prime suspect in a major heist of the royal vault, and the king's guards have tracked him flawlessly from the scene of the crime. Before the hot iron is placed in his hands, the accused offers a very specific defense. He states, "Your Majesty, in this birth I have not committed any theft." The iron sits on his hands. It is then removed. The raw thread is completely intact. The leaves remain green. The man's skin is untouched. Yet, when that same heavy iron is dropped down onto the floor, it instantly scorches the earth black. We know this man physically broke into the vault and stole the king's gold. So we have a paradox. A guilty criminal has survived an infallible physical test of truth without uttering a single lie. To understand how he survived, we have to look at the hours immediately following the vault heist. The theft was real, and the evidence against him was perfectly preserved. This schematic map traces the exact path the king's tracking squad followed. You can see a continuous, unbroken line of footprints leading directly from the breached royal palace, cutting across the terrain, and ending squarely in the middle of a village square. The thief used the large crowd gathered in that square as camouflage, sitting quietly among people who had gathered to listen to a wandering saint. When the guards arrived at the edge of the gathering, they didn't rush in. They had followed an unbroken trail. They were certain their suspect was sitting somewhere inside that crowd, so they formed a perimeter and waited. The physical evidence is absolute. For the iron to leave him cold, something more profound than a simple trick of phrasing must have occurred. The gathering the thief used as a hiding place was a satsang, a traditional spiritual discourse centered on absolute truth. This manuscript page highlights the specific verses the saint was reciting from the Bhagavad Gita. The teaching focuses on abandoning all worldly duties and choosing total surrender to the divine. The saint explained a specific metaphysical promise. When a person genuinely submits, they receive an immediate and complete nullification of all past sinful reactions. He reinforced this with a principle from the Valmiki Ramayana, detailing a divine vow. Anyone who approaches and declares, "I am yours," is instantly granted fearlessness from all beings. In this tradition, spiritual surrender functions as the literal erasure of a person's entire past history. Sitting trapped in the crowd, the thief experiences a profound shock. He sees a way to escape the guards, and more importantly, a way out of a life defined by theft. Right there in the dirt, he makes an irrevocable internal vow. He decides to genuinely surrender, committing to never commit a crime again. This timeline illustrates the transformation. The old self line terminates at the satsang, and a completely disconnected line begins. This explains his phrasing, "In this birth I have not stolen." Referring exclusively to this new segment, his conviction made it true. The test remained inert. The ancient test didn't fail. It accurately measured the spiritual reality standing before the king. This man was, for all intents and purposes, only hours old. We return to the throne room right as the scorched iron hits the floor. The king looks at the unburned hands and declares the man completely innocent. The king immediately turns his royal wrath onto his own tracking squad, threatening to severely punish the guards for falsely accusing a holy man. This creates the ultimate behavioral test. If the man had simply used the discourse as a trick to escape, he would allow the innocent guards to take the fall while he walked away. Instead, he steps forward. He directly contradicts his own defense, looks at the king, and confesses to the physical act of the robbery. His choice to confess proves his internal change was practical, prioritizing the lives of the guards over his own safety. The former thief leads the king and his guards deep into the forest to unearth the stolen treasure. The king demands an explanation. He cannot understand why a man would pass a divine test of innocence only to voluntarily hand over the prize and subject himself to punishment. The former thief explains his logic. The crime belonged strictly to his previous life, but the responsibility to prevent others from suffering, like the guards facing punishment, belongs to his current one. The king is moved by the purity of the act. The guards are spared, the gold is returned, and the reborn man walks free to live a respected, righteous life. The power of satsang manifests here as a total detachment from the past. By adopting an entirely new state of being, the man ensures the weight of his previous